What up, what up? I'm Ari Temkin, and this is Showtime, right here on Phantom, where we are putting you, the center of the Dallas sports discussion. A lot to get to today on a Tuesday, on a short week for the Cowboys. They're going to play in 2 days. And so we've got a lot to get to as far as what's going on with the latest on the injury report, who's not going to play on Thursday, how long will those guys be out for, and then there's also the important component of what are our biggest concerns about this football team now that they're seemingly the favorites in the NFC East, which they most certainly are. So that's a big part of the discussion today and what we're going to get into today specifically. I am Ari Temkin. You can catch me on the Cowboys pre- and post-game show on 105.3 The Fan and across the Dallas Cowboys radio network. I also host Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, Big 12 This Morning, each and every morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. So if you have Sirius XM, check that out. And then, of course, streaming live to you on Phantom as part of the putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion each and every day right here at 12 noon. Go ahead, hit the share button. If you have not yet already, tag friends of yours that are Cowboys fans that you think would like this. This is a Cowboys community more than anything. That's what this is. This is a Cowboys community. This is Cowboys fans, Dallas sports fans coming together in one place to discuss the latest and most pressing issues as it pertains to the Cowboys and Dallas sports in general. So, but it doesn't work without you. It doesn't work without you and your participation and your insight. So the community, it's as strong as all of the members who are here and a part of this discussion each and every day. And so hopefully you can help us grow as a community. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, one of our partners here at Phantom, doing great work. If you don't yet already, make sure you go and like the Dallas Cowboys America's team page. Already I see Eric Sharp saying that Jason Witten wouldn't have sat with a broken wrist. Actually, the truth of the matter is Jason Witten's wrist wouldn't have broken. So if there's a flaw in Jeff Swaim, it's that he has wrists that can break. So it's on you, Swaim. You and your breakable wrists. Jason Witten didn't have breakable wrists. That's why he never broke his wrists. And the one time that he broke anything, which was ribs early on in his career, first season of his career, it was a malfunction in the rib itself. Jeff Swaim broke his wrist, had surgery on the wrist. This is just a few weeks after Swaim was supposed to miss some time with that ankle injury, right? Didn't he have an ankle sprain? Didn't Swaim have an ankle sprain? So he came back a lot quicker than I expected. He'd come back with the high ankle sprain and now has a wrist injury. And I don't think we can underplay the importance of Jeff Swaim. And if you've watched my stream for a long time, like a training camp, for me, one of the big issues that I saw was at tight end. I just didn't know that they had the right guys here to fortify the position. And, Swaim has done a fantastic job. Patrick Kahn says MCL sprain. That's right, not an ankle sprain. A knee sprain is MCL. But, I mean, you can't understate how good Jeff Swaim has been for this team. Broke his jaw. That's what Patrick Kahn... Man, I'm all over the place. Thank you. Patrick Kahn is like my fact checker. He does a great job of that. Like, broken rib, that was a broken jaw. He broke his jaw. What was like the second game of his career or something like that? Third game of his career. And that, again, was just a malfunction in the jaw itself for breaking. Curtis Starks in the house. Zach Dodson. Miguel Castro. Eric Sharp. Ty Shelton. Michael Lafferty. Sean Moore. Ninja Nuts. Robert Anchetta. Michael Lafferty. Patrick Kahn. Joe Tranchina. Chris Bennett. All in the house. What up, what up, what up, what up, everybody? Chris Bennett says the Big 12 sucks. I mean, it's not like Breckenhager got suspended. Literally all he had to do was apologize, which you could argue is stupid, and I agree with that, but whatever. All he had to do was apologize. It's not like he's getting suspended for the Kansas game or the Big 12 championship or anything. Bobby Baker says Witten, Chuck Norris, same guy. True. That is actually factually accurate. Actually, Witten's the real-life version of the fictional Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris wishes he could be Jason Witten. Obviously, Witten, though, has his concerns on Monday Night Football. He's getting better. Was it? Oh, Swaim. That's what I was talking about. And I've got to hit share also. I'm going to share this right now. Boom. Shared. Just like that. It's boosted out into the world. You have the same power. Each and every one of you watching has the same power to boost this thing into the world and get more and more people involved. There it is, right there. You can't see it, but just hit share. That's all you have to do, literally. Robert Anchetta says Rico had a huge block during the Philly game. Sean Moore takes exception with that, saying, well, whoopee, Rico got a block. Man, stop the presses. Let's put Rico to the side for a moment here and focus in on Jeff Swaim. Because, again, I don't think we can understate how important Jeff Swaim has been for this football team. He had the ability always as a blocker, but when he started this season, he looked like an absolute mess because he was sort of caught in between of trying to now become a receiver while also simultaneously still maintaining his integrity as a good inline blocker for the Cowboys. So he's done a fantastic job evolving. I mean, he had a ridiculous catch that was thrown at his feet by Dak Prescott in the Atlanta game that he was able to corral and catch. It was a great catch, and it just shows you how much he's grown. He had a couple of those catches. I mean, he's just been really good as an outlet for Dak Prescott in the passing game and has been very reliable. So I don't think we can understate how important Jeff Swaim has been, because now you look and it's like the last time Swaim missed a game with that MCL sprain, thank you, Patrick Kahn, Dalton Schultz got the most snaps, which I just don't understand the Rico Gathers situation, to be honest. You know, I was certainly one of the ones at training camp that was like, this guy can't play. That's all we've heard. He doesn't understand the system. He doesn't understand how to block. That's all we heard from like people inside the organization. And then somehow, when it looked like, well, he's not going to make this team, to a week later, he makes the team when they did final cutdowns. Somehow he all of a sudden became a good blocker and he understood the offense. So I'm not really sure what to believe or who to believe when it comes to Rico Gathers. I just don't understand how here's a guy that has shown an ability to block. We know he has the ability to catch the football, and the athleticism is off the charts. You know, he's a mismatch. I mean, maybe this just goes back to the old school Jason Garrett, just doesn't have a whole 100% confidence or comfortability with him being out there, so he's going with Dalton Schultz instead. I didn't think Schultz played that poorly when he did play. Nothing stands out as being totally egregious. Just the one thing is, and I know Dalton Miller has been talking a lot about this, and Patrick Kahn too. Solar in the house. What up, Solar? But, oh yeah, I forgot to share it to a couple of these pages. But, what was I going to say? Yeah, when you don't have Witten and you don't evolve your offense at all to sort of not include just this weird, they have to have an inline tight end. They have to have a tight end at the end of the line of scrimmage to be a blocker. You just don't have many tight ends, if any, that can hold up in pass coverage against defensive ends, and yet Swaim's done an okay job at it. Obviously, Witten excelled at it. But, just get rid of it. I don't understand, especially without Swaim, the need to continue. Go 4 wide. I don't understand it. It's nonsensical to continue to use these schemes despite not having the personnel to run these schemes properly. But I guess that's just sort of the nature of the beast. Dave Sherwood says hello. Hey, Dave. Ari Temkin, nice to meet you. Steve Easton says, what's up? What's up, Steve? Curtis Stark says, Ari, I'm going to say this again. A couple of weeks ago, I said we'd beat Atlanta and then the Redskins on our way to 7-2 finish. Yeah, you heard it here first, bro. I said it. Boom. He said it. We heard it here first. I think I remember that. But yeah, I think obviously now, look, I would have probably picked the Cowboys to win on Thanksgiving, even if the Redskins had Alex Smith, to be honest. But obviously with them not having Alex Smith, that changes the arithmetic a little bit. And look, I do think, what they're going to ask Colt McCoy to do is what they asked Alex Smith to do, which is rely on the run game, don't make any mistakes, and the defense will take us home. Like that's what they've been doing. That's how they had a 6-3 record and now 6-4 record. So Daniel Griffith says, good morning, Ari. Good morning, Daniel. Tony Enriquez says, what's up, Ari? What's up, Tony? How are you? Dean Cruisinger says, that's a bingo. But I lost my train of thought for a second time. But it's not as if they're having a backup quarterback step into a situation where you've got an elite passing game. And I think that's the thing where it's like, okay, let's not underappreciate that the role that Colt McCoy is going to be asked to do on Thursday is a fairly easy role that a 32-year-old professional, like he seems like the right quarterback in the right situation. So, I think it'd be different if you're talking about the Falcons or the Saints, right? Some of these obvious teams where it's like if they go to a backup, you're taking a major step back at quarterback, and maybe the Redskins still are. But I think just what they've been asking Alex Smith to do, I don't know that Colt McCoy is completely incapable of doing it, right? Like it's just a basic, run the ball, don't turn the ball over, and make the plays if they're there. So we'll see. I think the Cowboys will win. I think they should be the favorites now to win the NFC East, but it's not at least given other situations across the NFL, it's a given that you're going to win that game based on what they have available. And I don't know that this is necessarily the case because I think Colt McCoy is more than capable of, catering the offense, of being a bus driver for this offense, because that's what they're asked to do. Go to Stiegel in the house. Joe Gutierrez. Jarwin is a joke. Yeah, agreed. Solar in here. I want Irving back bad. Do you want Michael Irvin back or David Irving, Solar? Because you said I want Irvin back bad, so you could be either speaking of Michael Irvin or David Irving. I'm not entirely certain which one. I think I have an idea who you are, but can't be too careful. Can't be too certain about it. Let's see here. What else we got? So, yeah, I the answer to the question, bigger loss for me is David Irving. So I'm asking you, the latest on the Cowboys injury report, who's a bigger loss, David Irving or Jeff Swaim? I think Swaim's a loss. It's a bigger loss because the Cowboys are going to continue to use the same, inline tight end that he's been playing. So I think it's a big loss in that regard. But I just think David Irving is, he's dynamic, and he obviously DeMarcus Lawrence can get after dudes, but David Irving on the other side, he shows in not playing very many games, he can accumulate a lot of sacks and a lot of hits in the quarterback. So it's funny because the Cowboys have more depth at defensive end, right? Randy Gregory's been good. He doesn't have the sack numbers necessarily, but I think he's affecting the game in many ways, well beyond expectations. Or rather well beyond maybe how people would attribute what he's doing to. So, I think they have a better rotation. They have a better stable of defensive ends, but David Irving is a better, more impactful player overall than Jeff Swaim. Wayne Bledsoe says Swaim would be the biggest loss without a doubt. Why do you think that? Daniel Griffith says, what's the news on Irving? Well, the latest on Irving is that he's not going to play on Thursday, Thanksgiving. And, it's a high ankle sprain. And so the initial prognosis the initial prognosis is 2 to 4 weeks. So this would be in that 2-week span. So we'll see if he's going to be able to potentially come back after Thursday for the game a week from Thursday against the New Orleans Saints. Curtis Stark says ball control and keeping Drew Brees is the key to beating the Saints, and you can run the ball on the Saints. That's next. That's a next week conversation. We don't need to dive into the Saints yet. We'll obviously get into that all Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on this show. So we don't have to go too deep into it. Alec Cash, Jason Wright, Zach Rosenberg, all in the house. What up, everybody? If you have not yet already, please feel free to hit the share button. Post your comments, your thoughts. This show is about this community, so engage with it, and it will engage back with you. Quickest way to have your comments read, Facebook.com/Watch Phantom. For those of you watching on YouTube, Stevie Mac. I'll get to you guys in a moment. But first, I want to check out the Dallas Cowboys Report, another great one of our partners here at Phantom. Dallas Cowboys Report. If you don't yet already, go like the page. Tracy Foster in the house over there. Jason Anderson, Jalen Peterson, Andy Cockrell, all in the house on the Dallas Cowboys Report page. Saying the Redskins signed him as a backup quarterback. That's Mark Sanchez. Tracy Foster says, what about Gallup playing on Thursday? My guess is he won't play Thursday. If you haven't heard, Michael Gallup is with his family in Georgia, has been excused by the Cowboys after the death of his brother, who committed suicide. So, I don't think we're going to see Michael Gallup on Thursday. And obviously, you want to have everybody, but this is an injury. This is something but maybe they will. I mean, maybe he's with his family now. He'll be back in Dallas by Thursday and ready to play in the football game. I'm not sure. Hard to believe that you could, and be a rookie, you could basically not practice for the entire week and still play. But it's a short week, so maybe things are a little bit different. I believe he still could play, obviously, but also obviously. He's not practicing all this week, and rightfully so, because of the death of his brother. Yep, Jason Anderson says that's sad. It is indeed. Steve Eason says he read that Gallup intends to play. That's good to know. Arturo Rodriguez Jr. is watching. What's up, Arturo Rodriguez? Patrick Prescott says, I'm late. What did I miss? I don't know. What'd you miss? I don't know when you joined, but, Jeff Swaim is going to be out for a little bit. He has been placed on IR, so his season isn't over, but has a broken wrist, had surgery on it. Will miss a couple of weeks at least. So that's tough. I don't think it's as big, though, as missing David Irving. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. But I just think that Irving's a bigger loss. But Jeff Swaim deserves a lot of credit for how much he's grown and evolved really over the course of this season. Quite frankly. This is a guy that I didn't have much confidence in when the season started, and he's become. He went from basically being a liability at that position to being a major positive at that position. So, he's made himself into a pretty good player, and he wasn't a big part of the passing game at the University of Texas when he was in college. He had 13 total receptions at Texas. So this is a guy that's sort of remade himself into a legitimate receiver in the National Football League, which is an incredible thing, and they're going to miss him because of it. The other piece is Irving. Again, high ankle sprain, prognosis 2 to 4 weeks. This is in that 2-week window. He's not going to play on Thursday, and so we'll have to see what it looks like the rest of the week. Other injuries from the walkthrough practice yesterday that we heard from the Dallas Cowboys. I'm just going to run through it here. If I can find it, here we go. So here are the names from yesterday's practice, and obviously the Cowboys are now going through today's practice. They practiced last night. Tavon Austin remains out. I know somebody asked me earlier about when's Tavon Austin potentially going to play. Terrence Williams. Tavon Austin cannot play until at least the last quarter of the season since he's on IR. I'm not entirely certain when he is eligible to return from IR, but it'll be right in that window of, last 4-5 weeks of the season, which is obviously coming up here after this week. So then the other question is, they are now just starting to get a hold of their rotation at receiver. So, do you add him back to the mix? Considering, Dak is just getting comfortable now with this stable of receivers. He and Amari Cooper are getting comfortable being on the same page. I mean, they've sort of stayed consistent with running Tavon Austin's routes with Jordan Lewis, but I mean, they're not treating him the same as Tavon Austin for obvious reasons. So, I'm interested to see and curious to find out how they utilize, how they would utilize Tavon Austin if he did return. William White says, "Do you think Su'a-Filo should remain the starter over Connor Williams?" No, but ask me on Friday. It's a tough question. Su'a-Filo's played great. He basically bought Connor Williams at least 1 week extra. I mean, I think Williams, if they needed him, would have played last week, but they didn't. So they gave Su'a-Filo another week, and he played well. And look, at this point, you should be playing the best guy. But I also think there's a but to that when it comes to Connor Williams and the development of him as a player. So Su'a-Filo's still young, so it's not as if you plug him in there and he can't be your left guard forever. But, I think you've invested a second-round pick in Connor Williams. You didn't trade for Earl Thomas. Remember, the Cowboys did not they abstained from trading for Earl Thomas because they wanted to draft Connor Williams. So I think that there's a commitment there to getting him back in lineup because you're not going to learn on the job unless you're playing, and that's I think that's important. He needs to play. He needs to get those reps. He needs to be out there. So, but look, I mean, you want to win football games. You need the best players out there. So, I mean, if he continues to play at a high level, Su'a-Filo, then yeah, I mean, that's a tough conversation that they have to have. Jason Anderson says, "Do you feel Cooper has been a good choice as of so far? Is he a good fit for us in your opinion?" No question. I mean, no, absolutely, without hesitating. I mean, here's the thing, and I talked about this yesterday. I think it's worth importing. And by the way, John Boughton, Eel, Eagle, Alien, Stevie Mac, Joseph Candelaria, I appreciate you all on the comments on YouTube. That's my bad for not checking it quicker, and I'll address your questions here in a moment because there's a lot of comments coming in on YouTube. So that's my bad for not checking it. So shout out to all of you watching on YouTube as I try to navigate all these different platforms and pages that we're broadcasting on. And it can be distracting, if I'm being quite honest. But you already knew that as you've seen me be distracted. So, I mean, there's so many ways in which you can measure what Cooper's meant to this offense. I mean, just look at their third down conversions. They were dead last in the NFL or right around there before. They're now on their way up. They were 25th before the Atlanta game. They're continuing to be a better third down football team because they have a legitimate number one wide receiver now. They have more red zone trips. They only had 2 the other night against Atlanta. They came away with a couple of touchdowns in those red zone trips. So there's just a lot of ways you can look at the entire offense and the success they've had in recent history and say that that's attributable to Amari Cooper. So the other piece to this too, and this is something I continue to go back to, like Dak Prescott was going to be a better quarterback within this offense once they got Amari Cooper. Cooper we knew was going to make that much of a difference because they already had a good offensive line. Right? Is it great? No. It's not what it was 2 years ago, but it's still good. You look at a lot of our offensive lines across the NFL that are garbage. So, I mean, they're average to above average on the offensive line. They have the best running back in football. And they have Cole Beasley, who's a legitimate number 2. They had the pieces to bring in a legitimate number 1 that would have a major benefit across the board. So Dak was always going to be better and improved with Amari Cooper. If he wasn't, that would have shown much, much bigger issues. So, like, the fact that he's playing better now shouldn't mean that the Cowboys should all of a sudden just give him a pile of money and say jump into it. My first priority this offseason would be to sign DeMarcus Lawrence to a big contract. And my guess is he's going to want to become the highest paid defensive player in the league. I'm not saying that he is the best defensive player in the league, but he's top 5 defensive players in the league, certainly in that conversation, if not top 5, top 10. And so he's the next guy up, which means he'll be paid accordingly. All right, on YouTube, and I'll get to Sean Lee here in a moment. Jarvis Hines wants to know who Dak Prescott's quarterback coach is. That's Kellen Moore. John Boughton says, you're forgiven, Ari. Thank you, John. Eagle Alien on YouTube says, LOL, yep, you're doing great, bro. Keep it up. Appreciate you. I'm trying, and look, this thing only works as long as I engage with everybody's comments. So, it's not for lack of trying. Sometimes I just get so caught up in what's going on Facebook, I forgot to check YouTube. And I mean, there's just a lot to keep track of, and they're all separate comments, and I wish it could all be in one place, but it can't. And maybe in the future it will, but not today. The U says, I'd really like to see the offense run Dak similar to the way Carolina runs Cam. Need to use Dak's dual threat. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And I look, but man, that's a great question. So, I said all offseason I thought Zeke Elliott was the best running back in football. I don't know that anybody agreed with me other than Cowboys fans. Oh, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, David Johnson. Okay, I mean, I'll take Zeke. And it's funny because everybody's like, I've seen tweets now like, why aren't we talking about Zeke Elliott as the best in the NFL? It's like, I don't know, but you haven't been paying attention. How about that? The Dallas Cowboys, who are always on national TV, who are always nationally relevant, who always annoy other fans because the media seems to always be talking about them. Somehow they've got a really good running back that's flying under the radar. What an amazing thing. But that is true. Here's, I guess, my issue about, I don't want Dak to take away from Zeke. And they run the option, they run the zone read. We've seen them run a couple of those things. I think they need to utilize Dak's running ability, but not at the expense of getting, force feeding Zeke Elliott, to be quite honest. So I think what they really need to use, and they have to a certain degree, they use Dak, his running ability when the defense is bailing out to stop Zeke, right? Like that, they have to have that threat, and that's, I think, where he's at his best and when they need to utilize Dak most. You look at their first touchdown in the game on Sunday with the Falcons, and that's the story of the first of that first touchdown. I mean, the Falcons defense zeroed in on stopping Zeke, and Dak Prescott just took it and went through the back door, basically. All right, on the Phantom Facebook page, Kelvin Bradyhoft says, is Van Der Esch Thad Castle? Who is Thad Castle? But maybe. If you think so, and I have no idea who he is, then sure. Ty Shelton says, is anyone missing Terrence Williams? No. Kerry Teagle says, word is Lawrence not going for the franchise tag again. Pay that man. Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Cowboys tried to hit the franchise tag with him, if he'd do. I know somebody tweeted out earlier, it was like, well, he's been paying attention to Le'Veon Bell. Well, the whole league has, right? But, I mean, the thing is, Le'Veon Bell comes out, like, he loses out in $14.5 million. So, yeah, he doesn't play. He gets a year of being fresh without playing, but he's not getting $14.5 million bucks. So, and let's see what happens now in free agency. He's not going to get $14.5 million per year moving forward. Like that money's out the window. It's gone. He's never going to get that back. So, I see that, but I would think that the rest of the league could look at that and be like, I don't want to lose that money. And we'll see. We'll see what the Cowboys decide with Marcus Lawrence. They have money this offseason, right? Like, we know that. Romo's dead money, thank God, finally comes off the books after the Cowboys kicking that can down the road for like a decade. Jason Witten, Dez Bryant, all that dead money's gone. They're going to be free of the dead money. Free at last from dead money. Joseph Candelaria says, Ari is LVE the best in his class? Yeah, to me, and I don't know that I've seen this talked about a lot, he's the rookie of the year on the defensive side of the football. And Darius Leonard, who's another interior linebacker actually taken after Van Der Esch, I mean, he's in the conversation. I think he was a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. He had a game for the Colts in which he had like 30 tackles. And what's amazing is Leighton Van Der Esch has basically caught him, even though Leonard has a game in which he had like 30 tackles. So, yeah, to the answer to your question is yes, Leighton Vander Esch is the best in his class right now. Will he end up that way? We'll see. It takes a career to be a Hall of Fame player, not just 1 year. But he is definitely, right now, the Defensive Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Let's see here. Thad Castle, Blue Mountain State. What is Blue Mountain State? I feel like an idiot. You guys are like, everybody's like, Thad Castor from Blue Mountain. Is it Castle or Castor? All right, I'm Googling it now. What is Blue Mountain State? Is that like a... is that like a show? Yeah, sorry, it's a show, you idiot. Okay, next question. Who's Thad Castle? I just Googled the show, but it's not as if... Oh, there's Alan Richson. He does look a lot like Leighton Vander Esch. He does. A lot. Wow. Yeah. No, he's definitely Thad Castle. He's also very dreamy. So is Leighton Vander Esch. Very dreamy. Read up, Ari. I know, right? He elaborates in the smallest comment. What do you mean? What am I doing here? You guys... I don't know. I don't know. I try to elaborate on comments. Some are repetitive comments, so I try to keep those more succinct. But, give me a hell. Give me a yeah. I don't know what that was from. Stone Cold. I think Kentucky is the Blue Mountain State. I believe it is, too. Somehow we're on Blue Mountain. Is this a Netflix show? Is this seems like a ripoff of that high school football TV show that stopped, that was named after the Odessa Permian book. Why am I... Is Blue Mountain State a ripoff of that high school football show that was named after the Permian book, Odessa Permian book? Eric Sharp says you're killing it, Ari. I'm not even remembering a simple book that I'm... killing it is far from what I'm doing right now. Oh, it's on the CW. Blue Mountain. No, it's not. Spike TV's Blue Mountain State. Spike TV. Good to know they're still around. Anyways, it's Alan Richson. He looks a lot like Leighton Vander Esch, but he's considerably younger. Not considerably. By the way, Alan Richson, happy birthday to him in 8 days. His birthday's on November 28th, so there you go. Friday Night Lights. Thank you, Ty Shelton. Friday Night Lights. Is Blue Mountain State a ripoff of Friday Night Lights? It certainly sounds like it is. Corey Miller says it's like a parody of all those shows. Okay, so it's not serious. It's not being serious. Not a rip of Friday Night Lights. Okay. Don't mind the critics, Ari. We love you. Appreciate you saying that. Thank you. And I don't know that he was being critical. I just literally don't know what he was saying. Eagle, look up further is what he's saying. I could, Eagle Alien. I could, but then I'd be missing the current comments, and I guess you'd all prefer the... whatever you want me to look up at, just somebody retype it, and then I'll address it. How about we do that? John Boughton says, seems like a lot of people are overlooking Colt McCoy. What do you think? I kind of said this earlier. I think the role that he's stepping into is an easier role for him. Also, that's true. Jay Irwin, it's the Bluegrass State, not the Blue Mountain State. I don't know. I barely know where I am right now. So you're trying to ask me state nicknames, and I'm out of here. But, yeah, I think what Colt McCoy is being asked to do is what Alex Smith was being asked to do, which is, square your shoulders to the sidelines. You don't have to look upfield, right? Like that's what Alex Smith has been doing, right? A lot of check down Charlie, using Adrian Peterson when they get the opportunity, and then their defense. So that's a pretty simple ask. So yeah, I do think that when we look at Colt McCoy, it's not as if he's asking, they're asking him to run the greatest show on turf, right? So now it's still Colt McCoy. He's still a lifetime back with the NFL. He's still 32 years old. So I have the utmost respect for Colt McCoy. He's a legend at the University of Texas. But, the Cowboys have to win, and even more so because Colt McCoy's not playing, or rather because Alex Smith's not playing. And, look, if there's a lot of forward momentum for this team, and all that forward momentum is gone if they lose tomorrow or Thursday. That's the truth here, is all of the forward momentum that this team has picked up after losing to Tennessee on Monday Night Football, where everybody checked out and wanted Garrett gone and Scott Linehan gone, like that's all gone if they lose on Thursday. And I'm sure there are a lot of Cowboys fans that are keeping their fingers crossed for them to lose on Thursday so that they won't win the division and they will fire Jason Garrett. All right, let's see here. LVE, best player to come out of the 18 draft. So far, probably. Yeah. But I mean, there are a lot of guys that have had very good rookie years that, and I'm not saying Leighton Vander Esch is going to be that guy. I'm just simply saying, like, you might look at a draft and say that draft was dynamic after one season, but then you look back 4 years later, and it's like, not as dynamic as I thought it was. Let's feast. The U says I retyped. Oh, you retyped LVE was the best player to come out of the 18 draft. Is that what it was? Did I address it finally? Ask again. We've been waiting. What's the question? What was the question? Everybody. It's like all these people on YouTube are like, ask him again. What's the question? I don't know. Somebody asked the question. All right, let me check back on the Facebook page for Phantom because I have this iPad issue. So the iPad was at 100% battery life. Oh, that's awesome. It's a green case, so it's mixing it with the green screen. So it's look at that. That's kind of cool. At any rate, this was 100% battery life, and like all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, we lied to you. Apple's the richest company in the world, like by far, and they have expensive products that suck. Apple, buy Apple, where your iPad will say you have 100% battery life. Only 5 minutes later to have you not have 100% battery life. But that is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. I can like blind you all with this. It's like a mirror with the outline of... I'm easily distracted, as you can tell. I have attention deficit disorder, so I'm easily distracted. All right, what's going on Facebook across the Dallas Cowboys America's team page? Also, again, broadcasting live on Phantom, facebook.com/watch Phantom. Ray Pierce wants Linehan gone. Let's just hope he doesn't turn to glass on us, LVE. Saquon no slouch. Good point. That's a good thing for Jalen, in my opinion. The expectation for him to have been over the moon. I still don't think he's completely come back from the injury he got in college. He's almost there, but still needs about another year before he's 100% from what I've seen. Yeah, I mean, look, but I don't know that anybody expects him to get back to the player that he was. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, so if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But it's an amazing accomplishment for him to be playing consistently. Like that in and of itself is an amazing accomplishment. Just to be on the field. But to play at the level that he's played at is incredible. And if he continues to improve, and I mean, if he can get back to being the player he was at Notre Dame, I mean, that would be incredible. But that shouldn't be the expectation because it's absurd to think that it would be the expectation for him. Initially, the expectation was, like, can he play? Can he actually get on the field and play snaps? David Beeler says, I think Garrett needs to win in the playoffs to keep his job, not just get there. Well, do you think that, or is that what you want? Because what you think and want are probably two different things. I don't disagree with you. I just think the Cowboys want Jason Garrett to be successful, so if he shows semblance of success, they're going to perpetuate it. So, what are my thoughts on what Ralph Garcia said? I agree. Get rid of Linehan and bring in Romo as our offensive coordinator who's been studying all 32 teams in the NFL. Corey, I thought you were being serious. I need to come up with a better way to answer the Romo. Romo needs to probably be like a quarterback's coach first before he could become an offensive coordinator. But I also have said about 1,000,000 times now that like Romo, because he was good at calling the plays line of scrimmage, doesn't mean he'd be a good offensive coordinator. Like it's foolish to think the guy that would walk up to the line of scrimmage, diagnose a defense, and then call the play could do the same thing as the offensive coordinator. I think we're displacing a skill set with something that's not necessarily in line with becoming a successful NFL coach. And the thing is, like, I'm not saying that I don't think Romo could be a good offensive coordinator or quarterback coach, but like he's not going to just go from not being anything to being an offensive coordinator. Like that just doesn't happen. Also, I don't know that he would be as good of a coach as everybody expects him to be. And then now Anthony Donaldson says, Ari, don't do it, sir. Here's a better question, Solar. Do you want Romo to be the offensive coordinator? Bobby Baker says, my car works like Lee's hamstrings. That's not good. Keith Batchelor, Romo has a pretty good job. That also is true. Mike Wellman says, LOL, a lot of walking in store for you. Oh, for the car that works like Lee's hamstrings. Yeah, sorry, buddy. You might want to get that checked out. Yeah, it is a running joke on this show. It is definitely a running joke on this show. Romo is the offensive coordinator. OC would be a self-demotion for Romo right now. He's already a game broadcaster who has only to work a half a year. Exactly. Kevin Bredehoft says Condoleezza Rice to the Browns. That, at this point, would probably be in line with Tony Romo as the offensive coordinator. All right, I'm kidding. But I don't know what Shefty was doing with that report because, like, you usually take Schefter's reports as being true. Like, he says something, and it's true, and yet, like, he reported that the Browns were going to interview Condoleezza Rice, and Condoleezza Rice was like, all joking aside, ha ha ha, like it was a complete and utter joke, which didn't really fit or jive with block me then. Why would I block you, bud? Who's blocking it? I'm not blocking anybody. I wanted your opinion on it, Solar. I know you love Romo. So I wanted to hear how much you loved Romo and if you wanted him to be the offensive coordinator. And he says, I want Romo to be anything he wants. Yep, Romo for president. Zachary Maldonado said Romo would be a great quarterback coach. But that's the thing, right? Like, why would he go from a job that pays him as much as it's paying him, where he doesn't have to work all the time, to the opposite, which is a job that's not going to pay great relative to what he's making. He has to work all the time. Like, it makes no sense. Also, it's important to note that, like, do we know any legendary players like that have become good coaches, good front office executives? Any? Can anybody name any? Any? All of them are guys that couldn't, right? Like Jason Garrett, right? Whose claim to fame was coming in and replacing Rodney Peete and Troy Aikman in a game on Thanksgiving. Like, those are the kinds of guys, like, that's why it's kind of funny when people are like, Kellen Moore's a bad quarterback coach. Why? Because he's a bad quarterback. Well, those are the guys that make good coaches. If anything, Kellen Moore should be a great coach because you look at the physical gifts he has, which is basically nothing, and look at what he did at Boise State. Like, that's a good coach. A guy that didn't have any of the physical characteristics that it takes to be successful and became an all-time leading passer in college football history. Daniel Griffith says Elway, but he's not good is the problem. He's bad at his job. So Elway's like Michael Jordan. And the only thing that Elway did that was good was talk Peyton Manning into coming over the Broncos. Sean Shake in the house. What up? What up? Condoleezza Rice for Browns head coach is like a TV reality star for president. I think he was something before a reality television star, but I get your point. Cat Burton also says Elway is not good. Mike Ditka's there you go. Ditka is a legendary tight end. Is also a really good head coach. John Elway's not good though. I know multiple people have said Elway. He's not good. He's horrible. He's a bad general manager. I didn't say who are legendary players that have become general managers. I said who are legendary players that are good at coaching or being a GM. Ditka's that's a good answer. Obviously, I should have remembered Ditka because Ditka is a legendary player and coach for the Chicago Bears and Dallas Cowboys. So, two teams that I'm fond of. So Ditka's a name I probably should have gotten. So you're saying there's a chance for Condoleezza? No. I think there was a better chance that Donald Trump would be elected president than Condoleezza Rice would be hired by the Cleveland Browns. Take with that what you will. Tom Landry. Well, I'll just take your word for it, Sean. How old are you, Sean? Was Tom Landry a good player in the NFL? Was Jimmy Johnson? Ozzie Newsome. Boom, there's one. Okay, there's a few. I mean, I couldn't tell you how good Jimmy Johnson or Tom Landry were as players. They played. Jason Garrett played. Most of these guys played. But the principle here is the majority of guys that can do it don't know how to coach how to do it, right? Because they just have the ability. So it's like, Elway's like, yeah, go do what I did. Like, but you can't. Like, Michael Jordan is a great example of this. Like, he can't coach. Jordan can't coach. Obviously, he can't be a GM either, but that because they can't just, like, part of what made them great isn't really coachable. And yet the players that sort of, like Kellen Moore is a good example of a good coach. And I don't mean a good coach. I mean a guy that has, like, should be a good coach. Kellen Moore should be a good coach because here's a guy that set the record for passing at Boise State for college football, but yet is like 5'10". I mean, he's basically us, but set the record. Like, that shows that's an ability well beyond physical talent that a lot of great players have that sort of sets them apart. Jordan Goldschmidt says, sure, I can coach. Neil Favre says Clint Sterner for head coach. Jim Harbaugh. Jim was the quarterback of the Bears when I was growing up. So, no. Jim Harbaugh was good. He wasn't. I wouldn't say like all time. I mean, he's not in the same category. Like Ditka's a Hall of Famer as a player, right? Jim Harbaugh's not there. Ralph Garcia says Kellen Moore a good coach. LOL. I mean, well, how do you know? Like, I mean, honestly, like, you just looking at Dak Prescott? I don't know. I mean, I'm not here. I'm not going to defend Kellen Moore. I'm just simply going to say, I guess I am going to defend Kellen Moore. I am here to defend Kellen Moore. Like, I don't know what quarterback coaches do. But I think that based on his resume, Kellen Moore should be a good coach because he maximized production when, like, he didn't have the physical gifts or traits or abilities. And that's what I think is, that's the kind of stuff. Bozo the Clown from Jordan Goldschmidt. Ron Rivera. Is he a good coach, though? He's a good defensive coach. Neil Favre says when he was a damn Colt. I hated that asshole for beating us in 96 in Texas Stadium, Harbaugh. Yeah, Doug Peterson. Yeah, he's a legendary player, Doug Peterson, of course. 50-3 at Boise State, breaking Colt McCoy's all-time wins record of 45. Anthony Donaldson says, if our players execute, none of this stuff will be a conversation. Sure, that is the case. That's what the Cowboys have been saying all year. They just got to execute better, and now that they've won a couple of games, they're saying, well, that's what they're doing. The difference between 3 weeks ago and today is they're executing better. It's what Jason Garrett has basically said since he's been the head coach. Just got to execute better. Okay. I mean, I don't disagree with it, but I also think it's too simplistic, right? Like, it's not just that. It's not just we've got to execute better. Sometimes it's like we've got to call better plays or cater our schemes to fit the personnel or, other things. But Jay Arrowwood says Kellen Moore is good in film room. That's it. I just, look, guys, I don't think myself included, I don't really know what a quarterback coach is supposed to do. I certainly see Dak Prescott and think, maybe he's a reflection of poor coaching from the quarterbacks coach, but I'm not going to attribute Dak Prescott's up and down to Kellen Moore. It just seems ridiculous. Like, there's no other There's just no other like instance in which we attribute bad play from a quarterback to the quarterback's coach. We're grasping for straws if we're trying to do that. Jerm Edwards from Jordan Goldschmidt. Anthony Donaldson says it's not just execution, Ari, but it is execution for the most part. Perhaps. Kat Burton says, let's see how they do against New Orleans before we get hyped up. That's just me. I mean, I don't expect them to beat New Orleans a week from Thursday. I don't. I know Solar does, and maybe he's the only one. Maybe he's not. But, I mean, I think this is the stretch to get hyped up, right? I didn't expect them to win in Philly. I think a lot of people didn't expect them to beat Atlanta, though I picked them to. And, I mean, this was that stretch where, you know, if they played well, then you know, they're very much in the thick of in the playoff race. The thing is now the race is them. Like the Cowboys have the advantage to winning the division because Colt McCoy is now the quarterback and Alex Smith's going to be out for the foreseeable future for the Redskins. So the team that's leading the division is without their starting quarterback, and the team that's the defending Super Bowl champs has me or you playing corner for them and already lost at home to the Cowboys. So the Cowboys are in the driver's seat to win the NFC East. On YouTube, my Cowboys family in the house. What's up, my Cowboys family? Moore is just a glorified note passer. Linehan is Dak's true quarterback coach. Yeah, that's fair. Eagle Alien says Dalton Schultz is starting. Yes, Jarwin will probably start, even though he's the weakest tight end we have. Yeah, agreed with that. As we saw last time that Swain was unavailable, the Cowboys went with Dalton Schultz the majority of snaps. But I do believe, to Stevie Mac's point, that Jarwin was the starter in name for those games. Patrick Prescott says, so it was Wade Wilson last year and Kellen Moore this year. LOL, Dak Tebow excuse makers. That's fair. I mean, we just want to have a handful of excuses to make for Dak Prescott. At the end of the day, Dak's going to be a better quarterback with Amari Cooper. That's a known. Right? Like, it's not a question of whether or not he's going to be better, because if he's not, then they got way bigger issues. The question is, you know, can he lift up a franchise beyond, you know, if you don't have all the pieces? And look, the truth of the matter here is none of us really know the true answer to that question, right? Because that comes with development, and it still is, like, this is still a developing quarterback. So, you know, that's an important question that the Cowboys need to have answered, right? Because as we've seen, you make the bad decision and just give your quarterback all kinds of money, you're going to be paying for it for years. So they have to make the right decision. Kat Burton says, Dak's been bad since college with vision and footwork. He's not improving. I think that's fair. That was in the scouting report coming out of Mississippi State for him. Let's see what else. Eagle Alien says, yes, Rico's not used enough because he can't block. These defenses notice that stuff. You know, I don't even know that I buy that, honestly. That's what we've been sold. But, I mean, I've seen him make some blocks. You know, again, I'm not grading every play, but the you know, can he block? Yes, he can block. Like, I guess my question is, they kept 4 tight ends. So why do they keep Rico? He's an enigma. I don't know what else to say about him. It's very bizarre. I'm no longer buying what the organization is trying to sell me on Rico Gathers, because I already learned in training camp where they kept telling us he can't block, he doesn't know the playbook, and then like all of a sudden he's on the team. Like like literally 10 days before final cuts, the thing we heard from inside the Cowboys organization was, doesn't know the playbook, can't block. In 10 days he learned the playbook and now he can block. So I'm in the state right now where it's like, I'm not going to buy whatever it is you're trying to sell me on Rico Gathers. I don't know why Rico doesn't play. I don't know that he can't block. I've seen him block, and I do know that the Cowboys struggle at tight end. So, you know, you guys figure it out. What else? I got a few more minutes here, but tomorrow. So this has been a weird week. Normally I go to Cowboys practice on Thursdays and do a second stream after showtime. Tomorrow, though, will be my only day to get a chance to go to practice, and I believe the media availability is at 11 a.m. So what I'm going to attempt to do tomorrow would be go to the media availability and then dip out to do showtime at noon. So stay tuned because showtime tomorrow will be live on location at the Star in Frisco, which will be cool. What else? If you like what we're doing here at Phantom, which is putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion, which is, giving you insight, my opinions, my thoughts, answering your questions, which is taking you to the Star in Frisco, which I do once a week and stream live from there, from the Cowboys practice facility, take you inside the stadium, which I do for all the home games. Like if you want, you like that stuff and you want to see it continue, support our sponsors, period. We are surviving based on our sponsorships and our ability to sell sponsors. So Pollo Campero, check out the link, click on the link, find a location near you, and go find Pollo Campero. They're investing in us. You guys, the ones that stream the show every day, are part of this community. So I ask you to invest in our sponsors who are investing in us and what we're doing here at Phantom. So appreciate you all for being a part of this community. It doesn't exist without you. So thank you. Thank you to Zach Maldonado and to Ray Pierce and Dakota Stiegel and Sean Moore and Michael Lafferty and Chris Bennett, Keith Price and Anthony Donaldson and Corey Miller and Kat Burton and Jay Arrowwood, Curtis Starks, Sonny Slaughter, Scott Butler, and on and on and on. Patrick Prescott, you guys make this show what it is. So appreciate you all. I appreciate you all being a part of this, and if I messed up anything today, I'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully to do it better and bigger and better than I did today. But for now, everybody, I'm out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace.